Yo, what up? Welcome inside the opening line, part of the Elite Fantasy Sports Network, coming at you on a Thursday a.m. Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, my main man, Benny Ricciardi. Benny, what's good with you, big dog?
Yo, all I know is referees, umpires, they did not have a good evening last night, man. It was a little bit crazy out there in the sports world.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, and kind of want to start with it today. And I want to start with the situation in the baseball game because I think I may have watched 2 innings of baseball all year. It just so happens I was watching this live when it happened last night because I had a couple dollars on the Texas Rangers. Shout out to my man Rob, MLB model. He had wrote them up yesterday. He had added them to his picks later on in the day. I think they were coming in at plus 200 or something like that. They go out there, Mike Minor dominates, they get the W. But I kind of felt real good about where the game was going after I saw the exchange between Hinch, the Astros bench, and Benny, what's the umpire's name?
Culpa.
Yes. Yo, I'm sitting up there, right, and I'm watching this, and I'm like saying to myself, okay, they argue balls and strikes in baseball all the time. But Culpa was really it's like he kept the shit going, Benny. He didn't stop.
So that's my big problem with the whole thing. It's like, you know what? You're going to have little disagreements, whatever. The first time it happened. So for those of you who didn't see it, first off, his strike zone, Culpa is known as a guy who has just a massive strike zone, right? He's been a pitcher's umpire for years. Guys that follow the umpire data for DFS, like when you see his name on there, you're automatically giving an upgrade to whoever the starting pitchers in that game are, because his strike zone has been known to basically be anything that's, within a 5-foot area of the plate is going to be called a strike. So he does kind of have a little bit of a history of this. Some of the pitches, though, that he was calling strikes yesterday, like if you have the MLB app and you follow the pitch tracker, like every pitch they put down, what type of pitch it was, how much the break was, how fast it was, all that, and then they put a target, like where the pitch crossed the plate. If you were watching the MLB app yesterday, you saw nothing but, little ball targets outside of the strike zone area that they put in there. So
now, it's funny you mentioned, I'm hopping right here quick, Benny. It's funny you mentioned it because I got by this time I forgot what I had some kind of basketball on the main TV, and I'm watching the stream of the game, a pirated stream of the game on the computer, right? And I'm watching the Texas Ranger broadcast. And as these balls and strikes are being called, the Ranger broadcast is like, well, that box doesn't necessarily represent the strike zone. Like, you know what I'm saying? The Ranger broadcasters was trying to, put their spin on it, their hometown spin on it, but clearly everybody's like, this is BS.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, his strike zone has been known to be very liberal, right? So, I mean, you take that with a grain of salt right away off the bat. So, I mean, when they started arguing balls and strikes, the thing that got me is, Hinch came out, they went face-to-face, and Hinch was basically like, listen, I'll take care of my bench. You talk to me. You and I'll talk. Don't worry about them. I'll take care of them. I'll make sure they stay in line, right? So he walks back to the dugout, and the umpire was over there, just grilling the entire dugout.
In the dugout, like he wanted smoke.
Oh, he was waiting for somebody to say something so he could toss somebody. That's when I get a little upset, because now you cross the line from doing your job to trying to be the show. And you and I both know, Corey, I don't pay $50 for a ticket to go to the ballpark so I can see the umpire a game. I go there so I can see the best players on each team, the hitters hit, the pitchers pitch. You don't go to see the umpire. And he tried to make himself the show yesterday. And I don't blame Hinch at all, because I would have been pissed off too. I mean, you saw the whole play when everything happened. First off, that first pitch that came in, the backdoor curveball, that was not a strike. But all right, whatever, he called it a strike. We've all been there. We've all seen bad calls before. The thing that got me, though, is after they had the little exchange, the next pitch was nowhere near a strike either. I mean, it was literally – yeah, and he called it a strike. Like, it was at the guy's shoelaces. That is not –
now, that's when the broadcaster stepped in and was like, wow. You know what I'm saying? And then the other – the color analyst was like, wow, that's an interesting one. And the play guy was still trying to be the hometown hero. I was like, well, that one, if you look at it where it got into the catcher's mitt, it could be a strike. And I'm like, he want beef.
Yeah. I mean, my big thing is after he made that call too, he turned to the dugout again, almost like to say, what? Is somebody going to say, like, go ahead, like, say something. What are you going to do about it? And that's even what he said to Hinch when Hinch came out for the third time and they were face-to-face and they were talking. He basically said, I'm going to do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. And that's the thing that really got me, because now the game – yeah, you're making the game about you instead of about the players and the pitchers and everything like that. And it's a really bad look for baseball. They definitely need to sit this guy down and talk to him. Like I said, the thing that sucks is for DFS, he was a guy that anytime I saw his name pop up as behind home plate, I knew I was getting an extra couple strikeouts out of whatever pitcher was on the mound, because he has always had a very liberal strike zone.
Mike Minor was that guy last night. And like I said, I don't keep up the most with baseball, but bottomless night. It came in early today. Like I said, I don't keep up the most with Major League Baseball, but I was watching this last night. Like I said, Mike Minor was the pitcher who was very good last night. Now, I remember from back Scott and Adam in those days, people talk about Mike Minor. I feel like the son got gray hair in his beard now. I'm like, wow. I thought he was a prospect a couple of years ago, and now I'm like, what happened to son?
Well, you got to remember, I mean, as much as I love you, the Roto expert days were a couple of years ago now, too. That was 3-4 years.
Your beard too, Corey.
Yeah, I'm going to say, your beard was all black when it happened at the moment, too, man. You're starting to get a little white like me right here, so,
son, a little. I got a lot.
But, yeah, I mean, Mike Minor was always – he was a guy that was a big prospect. People expected him to turn into a very good pitcher. He's always been solid. He's never, taken that step to be great, but he's always been solid. But, when you're getting the calls that he was getting yesterday, anybody's going to look like a star. So, that definitely helps out.
No doubt about it. But listen, hey, the bottom line came to the matter is I cashed that ticket. So that was the second ticket I cashed yesterday. Once again, shout out to, it was dude up top, MLB Dream.
Okay.
I had a first 5 that I cashed, that he recommended, that I cashed early in the day. Then I jumped on Rob with that Texas Rangers. So right now I cashed 2 baseball tickets. Haven't watched the ending of baseball all year. That's why I'm telling you, GuruElite.com is where you want to go to get your betting picks, especially for Major League Baseball. Now those guys are hot right now. Make sure you rock with those cats right there. You know what I'm saying? So got those 2 tickets cashed, whatever. That's when, going through my phone and stuff, I see the Popovich thing, that he had been tossed after 1 minute and 3 seconds. Basically, one of the first plays of the game, he thought a foul should have been called. Back and forth with the referee. But the referee teed him up twice and threw him out.
So he got thrown out last week, too. So I kind of feel like this was a little bit of carryover from that because, referees talk and they know what's up and they know what's going on. But, yeah, I mean, I thought it was a little bit of a quick whistle. He actually was joking about it after the game. I don't know if you saw, Mike Malone, the coach of Denver, was in the middle of an interview. And Pop came in there, and, the 2 of them are pretty good friends, so they were joking around and stuff like that.
Didn't Malone come up on the Pop, right?
I don't know if he did, to be honest with you. I know he used to coach. I want to say he was an assistant at, I think he was his dad was an NBA coach. Mike Malone actually went to my high school. He's a Seton Hall prep cat.
Wow.
Yeah, so his dad used to coach the Knicks, and then he coached the Pistons for a while. And I think Malone came up under him, and then he coached a little bit in college and all that before he finally came to the league. But either way, I know the 2 of them are friends, and they were kind of joking around. And Pop's like, so what are you guys talking about? And Mike's like, oh, we're talking about the record that was set tonight, with him getting tossed 63 seconds in. And he goes, yeah. He goes, it was funny. He goes, was there a fight? Because I didn't see anybody throw hands to get tossed. And Malone was like, nah, no fight. He goes, did somebody curse? Because I didn't see anybody be disrespectful and curse at the referee either. And Malone was like, nope, didn't see that happen either. Basically they were both they were really no reason for him to get tossed 63 seconds into the game. But, again, this is another situation where, a referee makes the game about him instead of, about the players, which is what it should be. And honestly, the leagues need to take care of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, especially with the NBA playoffs coming up. There is no time when the referees are scrutinized during the NBA playoffs. Most NBA playoff games fall within 5 or 6 points of each other. So it's going to be critical calls on both sides. And the NBA playoffs is when you really see outrage or against the referees. Listen, for the most part, I think the officials are trying to do their job. A lot of the stuff I see on Twitter is like, okay, a lot of cats are mad at the officials because they were betting on that side. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I try to fade that noise. But the two incidents I saw yesterday and then the past couple of weeks with the Golden State Warriors have been interesting. And like I said, we talked about it yesterday, and I got a feeling we're going to be talking about it more. Speaking of which, I think we may have talked about this last week. The NFL changing the pass interference rule. I don't think that was a good idea.
No, I mean, again, it was kind of reactionary, right? Because of the whole situation in the Saints game. And it's never a good idea. There's always going to be that play in any sport that's like the gray area, right? Where it's like the way the rule is written, like it's very – but the thing is, there are literally thousands of plays during an NFL season or an NBA season or a Major League Baseball season. To overreact and change something because of that one play where everything was kind of – a little bit messed up and things like that, it always just feels like reactionary. And whenever they do it, it winds up creating more problems because now you covered whatever that little issue was that happened once in 100,000 plays last year. But now you've created other issues that we talked about the other day, like the end of every game now, the last play of the game, whether it's pass interference or not, we're all going to be sitting there after the ball hits the ground waiting for the review before we can start celebrating winning our bet or winning our daily fantasy games or something like that. And that's not the way you want to make sports either. You want it to be about the product on the field, what's going on the field. You want the action on the field. That's what fans want to see. Fans don't want to stay for an extra 2 minutes after a game ends to see whether or not it's going to be a pass interference call and whether or not you're going to give the team another play. That just defeats the purpose of it. And the way they made that rule now, everybody's just going to be challenging everything, and it's just gonna hurt the game.
Exactly, I agree with you. I don't think this rule may not be in place for long. Basically, what happens is, and once again, it boils down to the playoffs. On an average night in the NBA, it's 6-7 games on. One call can get overlooked. Average NFL Sunday, it's 7-8 games on. One play can get overlooked. But when it's in the playoffs and the stakes are higher, and it's less teams playing, and there's more eyes on one particular game, that makes those calls stand out. And I think that's what happened in that situation with the Saints and the Rams in the NFC Championship game. So, also last night, I had some bread on the CBI because I love the CBI. You know what I'm saying? I had DePaul catching 5. They were catching 6 early in the day. By the time I got on the phone or with my pick placer, they were at 5. They were down 13 early in the second half. That's when I had to leave the house when that happens. You know what I'm saying? Because now I feel like I'm like the bad luck. So I leave the house. I come back in the house. They're down 5. And I'm like, it works like a charm, baby.
Every time, baby. Every time.
It works like a charm. Let me leave. I come back, whatever. So I came back in the crib. So I'm watching the second half of the game. I got the baseball on. So the baseball bet hits. These cats go into overtime. They pull the game into overtime. Now, when it goes to overtime, my first thought was, I'm going to lose it. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to lose by 6 or 7. Mm-hmm. Well, DePaul won the game, but DePaul was missing the front ends of 1-and-1s all night. So I was like, this is perfect. But then again, I cover, and I'm thinking to myself, at some point this week, my team is going to miss those free throws, and that's how I'm going to lose. That's how the gamblers do. They give it back to you. So after I get myself together and situated, so right now I'm like 3-0, and I got I'm 3-0, and I got 2 coming and 1 pending. The one that was pending I ended up losing, but after I got the 3-0 start, I was like, okay, I'm about to go get me a couple beers, chill out for a little bit, and get ready for this 10:40 tip off. As I'm walking to the block, I'm walking to 7th Avenue to get my beer, or the store, the bodega I always go to. As I'm heading down the block, I see what appears to be a stray dog. And I'm like, it's interesting. Mm-hmm. This ain't old Harlem. Stray dogs don't roll around Harlem no more, you know? Mm-hmm. It's not a stray dog like a stray puppy, you know what I'm saying? Right. So I look a little closer, and to all my goonies out there that know me from the past couple of years, stuff like that, y'all know that my block has a raccoon issue. Mm. Harlem has a lot of construction, you know what I'm saying? Yep. So you tear down these buildings and stuff, like raccoons, they migrate down from Central Park, and they more or less, they stay in like these buildings that have the construction done on them and stuff like that. The kind of areas they like. Mm-hmm. Last summer, we had a horrific raccoon problem. Like, Benny, the raccoons on my block, when they make eye contact with you, they walk towards you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
you got gangster raccoons by you.
You got gangster raccoons. You know what I'm saying? Now, we don't have the super raccoons. In Brooklyn, they have super raccoons that actually stand up and walk on their hind legs. If I see one of those, I'm moving. Yeah, son.
Yeah, that would be the end of it for me. I'd be like, all right, peace out. Going somewhere cold where the raccoons ain't taking over.
So it's like every night of the summer, me and the boys, whatever the case may be, as long as it was warm outside, it was a shed that had about 5 or 6 raccoons living in it, right? So, I told like people on like, yo, be careful, whatever. People sitting down by that shed, getting high and stuff. I'm like, yo, there's raccoons in there. Y'all be careful. They don't care. I've talked to some of the superintendents on the block, like, yo, y'all got to get the city to come in here because there's raccoons in that joint. Go to come up here. She be like, Daddy, which way do I don't like? You know what I'm saying?
What's the safe path where I don't got to deal with it?
Well, yesterday, in the back of my mind, like, it's getting warm. You're going to start seeing these raccoons again. Mm-hmm. That was not a stray dog, Benny. That was a raccoon. Son, I never seen a raccoon that big in my life. So now, I'm like, stop mid. I'm like, bam, mid-stride. I stopped, was like, that's a raccoon. Turn around, Benny. I go to the other store to get my beer because I couldn't deal with it no longer, Benny. These super raccoons in Harlem is no joke. It was actually an article in the newspaper about this last year, how some parts of the city, raccoons have taken over. I don't know if you got this problem in Jersey, Benny, but I don't like raccoons.
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple of them around. I don't know if we have any super raccoons, and I haven't seen any of them on their back legs or anything like that, but that's one of the good things about the city life, right, Corey? I mean, you know what? If you can't go to that bodega because the raccoons are protecting it, there's always another one on the next corner. So, you can find another store to go get some beers at. That's not a bad thing.
The thing about it was my neighbor, he saw me coming back, right? He was like, yo, what happened? I was like, yo, a raccoon. He was like, yo, I'm going inside. He was like, yo, I'm out. He was like, I'm out. He was like, yo, they coming back? I was like, yeah, son, they coming back. It's getting warm outside.
This is the stuff that people don't understand, man. They don't have to deal with this stuff in the middle of nowhere. They're, the raccoons and them are friends out there in the middle of nowhere, so.
No, they're not. So, came back in the crib, got ready for the last game. Was looking over some stuff on the internet. A lot of people talking yesterday about Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. got paid. Stephen A. is now ESPN's highest paid talent. For years, ESPN's highest paid talent was Chris Berman. A lot of people don't know that.
Yep.
Chris Berman was the guy that was making the most money. He was making like $10 million when he left ESPN. And he was like old and corny and played out. A lot of people feel differently about Stephen A. Stephen A. is not like a middle type personality. You either love him or you hate him. Mm-hmm. He's been friendly with me. I've been friendly with him. Like, he always look out, whatever, you know what I'm saying? I met the cat a couple of years ago. We've kind of kept in touch, see him at Madison Square Garden, show love, whatever. I send him an email, shoot him a text. He always gets right back to me. But a lot of people in this industry do not like Stephen A. Smith. But what I tell people all the time is that kind of talent is not for you to like. But my problem is, Ben, when people say, well, he's an entertainer. Why does he get paid like that when it's good journalists that should be getting paid like that? Nobody really checking for the good journalists. I'm sorry to say that.
No, I mean, and that's the truth. Listen, it's sports entertainment. Even what we do, it's sports entertainment. Yes, sports is the topic that we have. But if you're not being entertaining, if you're not being, somebody that people want to listen to and want to tune in and want to see, if you're not, for lack of a better term, especially in today's day, if you're not creating controversy and getting clicks, you're not somebody who a firm can monetize. That's really the way it comes down to it. I mean, there's a lot of people with good information. There's a lot of people that are good at writing and all that. But if you don't have a personality, you're not going to succeed in this business because nobody wants to sit around and listen to you for an hour if you're boring and you're dry and you're just reading stats. You might have the best stats in the world, but if you can't relate it to people, nobody's going to really care. One thing that I give Stephen A. lot of credit for is he, one way or another, whatever he does, he takes a stand on things. Yep. You may not like his stand. You may not like the side he's on. You may not agree with his argument, but he's going to be on one side or the other, and that forces people to do the same thing. You pick whether you agree with him or whether you don't agree with him. And you know what the thing is about, the internet and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all this stuff is, it doesn't matter if you agree with them or you don't agree with them. what matters is that you click on that article that has his name on it, and that's how ESPN makes their money, because now they got advertisements up there, and, the advertisers are happy. When Stephen A. Smith does something, whether it's, a podcast, whether it's a live thing, whether it's something that he writes, even though he doesn't write as much anymore as he used to, it gets a lot of clicks, it draws a lot of eyes in, and that's why he gets $8 million, and a guy like John Clayton winds up on the unemployment line.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It is what it is. Listen, I got respect for the journalists out there and stuff like that. But when you get into this business, you kind of got to know what you're getting into. And you can be, the greatest journalist. Oh, my God. You can be like the greatest journalist that there ever was. But if people don't find you entertaining, that's what it's going to be. Now, the next thing with Stephen A. is people don't – I remember Stephen A. was the high school basketball writer for the Daily News. Straight up. I remember him in gyms in the Bronx, in Queens, being the only journalist there. Him and another dude that you might remember, Mike Quick. Mike Quick used to do a show on MSG, high school basketball, high school sports show on MSG. Mike Quick and Stephen A. were the only people there. Stephen A. goes to Philadelphia. Now, listen, he hit the jackpot because they got the 76, the Philadelphia Tribune, to cover the Sixers around the Philadelphia Inquirer. The same time Allen Iverson got to town. So obviously Allen Iverson he's the guy with the access to Iverson. He starts getting called on ESPN. Right. Takes off from there. So his trade, his background is a journalist. He was able to parlay it into the biggest entertainer in the sports media.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's my thing. Like $8 to $10 million, that's a lot of money, right? So, he's doing really well and good for him. The one thing a lot of people don't give him credit for, though, is like he's been a hustler basically since he got into this business, right? And even now, he's still on, whether you like him or not, he's still on like 3 or 4 times a day on ESPN doing little clips here or there. You still see him with his podcast. You still see him doing some writing and stuff like that on ESPN.com. So whether you like him or not, you can't knock the guy's work ethic and his hustle, because he is one of those guys who is always working, is always on, is always there. Now, do I think any writer deserves $8 to $10 million? No, not really, but it's the same argument that we have with Manny Machado and Bryce Harper and all these other guys. I am never going to knock anybody for making their money. That's what it's all about in this world. Get your money, take care of your people. That's what you're supposed to do. So good for him. Glad that he got it there. Personally, though, I think ESPN really needs to kind of take a look at how they're spending money, because you're spending $8 to $10 million on Stephen A. when you fired like a third of the people who used to work for you there. Stephen A. probably would have been able to get away with $7-8 million, and that extra $1 million probably could have kept that other 1/3 of the people making $50,000. Because a lot of people don't know this, but like ESPN doesn't pay very well.
No, they don't.
You go to ESPN for the exposure. There's been a lot of guys who, even in the DFS industry that I know, who ESPN has reached out to when they were interested in doing some fantasy stuff. And really, a lot of them make better money at the places that they're at, which is saying something, because, there's not a lot of places that pay very well in this industry.
No doubt about it. And he got to the top of the heap, and so he's getting that money. But like you said, First Take, the radio show, and I guarantee, matter of fact, I don't guarantee you, I know for a fact, he was at the Wizards game last night. He still finds his way to an NBA locker room every night.
Yeah, but again, that's how this business is a lot to do with relationships, right? Whether it be relationships with, with people that you're talking to in the sports world, relationships with the companies that are, the big players in the sports world. Everything has to do with relationships. A lot of things in life have to do with relationships. So, no matter how well you're doing or how much you move up the ladder, those relationships that help you get there are ones that you need to keep around, because you never know when something's going to happen. You may need to jump somewhere else to another place. You may need to get somebody or get an interview with somebody. Somebody else can help you get that. So, the relationships are big. So he's doing his thing. He's doing it right. And like I said, shout out to him, man. I'm never going to be mad at somebody for getting their money.
No, go get your paper player. You know what I'm saying? You can get your money too, especially if you are a DFS player. Sign up for a subscription at EliteFantasy.com. The baseball crew is hot. They're clicking right now and still got some NBA playoff stuff coming up from my man, Benny. Benny, speaking of the NBA playoffs, which are getting ready to kick off in a few weeks, got one big game on the slate tonight I want to talk about. And I also want to get to some Eastern Conference futures. But first, I want to ask you, as a New York Jet fan, what do you think of your team's new digs?
Oh, they're ugly.
I like them. I'm feeling them.
It's honestly, it's just I don't know. Every year we keep changing jerseys every year. I guess they're trying to drum up some more money, and I'm not falling for it. I'm not gonna go buy a new jersey. I got my Jamal Adams jersey, which I think will be good for another, I don't know, I'm gonna say maybe 2 years. I'm the worst, man. Every time I buy a Jets jersey, the jersey that I get, the guy gets traded within 2 years. I had a Jonathan Vilma jersey, and then he was out of town. I had a Kerry Rhodes jersey. They sent him out of town. So I got the Adams jersey, hoping that, first overall, number 6 overall pick, first rounder. Hopefully they're going to keep him in there, strong safeties, build around them. So we'll see how that happens. But I don't know. Right now, I'm a little nervous that he's going to be the next guy to go, only because I got his jersey.
I got to back you up right quick. I got to take a rewind and go back. Do you still have the Kerry Rhodes jersey?
Probably. If I do, it's probably like in the back of the closet, like literally on the floor in the back of the closet, like rolled up somewhere. Because basically when they traded him, I was like, well, can't wear this thing anymore. I just kind of threw it in the back of the closet. So
his career took a strange turn.
He was good. When he was on the Jets, he was good, man. Like, I liked it. And then when they traded him and they let him go, I was like, oh, man. Like, I figured he was going to be pretty good somewhere else. I think he got cut, like, the next year. Like, I don't even think
what happened, right?
No, what happened?
Now, Kerry Rhodes when he got traded and he got out to wherever he went, I think it was Arizona or something like that, he kept popping up in, like, these like, weird, awkward type, homosexual type, what the hell is going on here type videos.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Like it was like some videos with him and a dude in a swimming pool. And listen, to each his own, whatever. But this was a while ago, and I don't think the NFL locker rooms weren't ready for that yet. And I think that's kind of a reason why Kerry Rhodes is out the NFL right now. Yeah, so a lot of you Google some Kerry Rhodes stories. There's some wild stuff out there about your man Kerry Rhodes.
All right, I'll have to take it out. I'll tell you what, man, he was a hell of a safety for the Jets.
He was in New York, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was supposed to be the future for them, and then they got rid of him. So I don't know. It is what it is.
Hey, I wanted to ask you right quick. I wanted to run through a couple of these things. Like I said, I watched some baseball yesterday. Mm-hmm. An inning, the best inning of the night. You know what I mean? But I have been seeing some of these, since we're like the first week into the season, every team is using like their Twitter hashtag. Yeah. And some of these are quite interesting. So I want to run a couple of them by you. The Arizona Diamondbacks is Rattle On, which is like, all right, whatever.
Okay. Diamondbacks.
Who does Paul Goldschmidt don't play for them no more, does he?
No, he's on the Cardinals now this year. He's over in St. Louis, yeah.
The Atlanta Braves are Chop On.
Oh, it makes sense, the Tomahawk Chop.
Yo, they gave Ronald Acuna $100 million, right? And I don't want to sound like Tucker Carlson here, but that's a face of a franchise that can't speak English. Mm-hmm. Or would you say that Freeman's still the face of the franchise? Or?
I mean, to me, Freddie Freeman's still the face of the franchise. Acuna is definitely, a young piece that they're building around and is going to be one of their big players. I mean, he's hitting right behind Freeman, hitting cleanup in that order. So yeah, he is one of the main guys. See, I don't have a problem with that though. I mean, in baseball especially, because the best baseball is being played in Latin America, and people can argue that all you want, whether the Caribbean, Latin America, like that's where the best baseball is from. And in the United States, the whole point is you want the best of the best. I mean, if you got the best of the best, like, this is these MLB baseball players are the ones that Trump is going to sign the visas for because they're all making millions of dollars, so they're rich.
Right about that.
Rich people, whether they speak English or not, they're going to be able to, afford their own way in this country with the money that they're making. So these are the kind of people that Trump will give visas to. So we don't have to worry about it.
But what I'm saying is, from the Braves standpoint, this is a $100 million guy. You're going to put him out there. I mean, don't get me wrong. The kid is still young. I'm sure he'll learn to speak English. But right. I wonder if that is something that came up during contract negotiations.
Well, I mean, you look at, like, the Yankees, right? Like, Gary Sanchez still, doesn't speak English very well when they interview him and stuff
But you still got Judge. You got Stanton. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, again, Atlanta is also not exactly the friendliest, most welcoming place overall. You have
especially with that stadium. That stadium is in Cobb County. That's where the big boss man was fictionally from. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, basically, there. If you ever been down to Georgia, like it's still a very like kind of segregated place. Like you can kind of feel it when you're down there. You know what I mean?
Like if you're in Atlanta, you're good. But like, when you go out to some of those suburbs and stuff, like I said, in the new stadium's in Cobb County. That's where the fictional character, the wrestling character, the Big Boss Man.
Yep.
That's where he was from. You know what I mean? And the Cobb County Jail was known for cracking cats upside their head. You know how wild wrestling was, son, when you go back and think about it? You had a dude that played a correction officer in the Deep South. You know what I'm saying? His rival, Benny, was the Junkyard Dog. He would handcuff the Junkyard Dog to the rope and beat him with the nightstick. Yeah. And as a child, as a youth, you're like, watching it as whatever. But when I grew up, I'm like, wait a minute, this is.
Well, honestly, wrestling has always been good with playing to those kind of pulling those strings like that. I mean, you had like the Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan was like the Middle East against the United States kind of deal, and they played that up. I mean, they've always kind of been that way. They've always kind of pulled on the the heartstrings of people and a lot of the unsaid and unsaid kind of things that have been going on in the background. So, I mean, hey, that's how Vince McMahon built his fortune and,
I can't knock Vince McMahon hustle. That man is very wealthy, and when wrestling is hitting, it can be the best thing on TV. The Baltimore Orioles, #Birdland. And they've been using Birdland for a minute. I remember when we would go, we'd take my son down, to Camden Yards when he was a little boy. They have a sign that says, "Welcome to Birdland." And my son would be freaking out because he'd be like, you know what I mean?
Birds, yeah,
where the birds at? You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, nah, it's the Baltimore Orioles, who are making people money hand over fist if you're betting on them right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they've been covering. They've been doing pretty well this season. I'll tell you what, though, it's a long season, and I don't think that's going to hold up for the rest of it.
The Baltimore Orioles are not going to take you to the promised land. Trust me, you're going to have more losses than wins betting on the O's. But right now, they're off to a hot start. I think I heard last night that if you were betting $100 a game on the Baltimore Orioles, you are plus 900 right now. Boston Red Sox, dirty water. I don't understand that.
Is that like a Boston Tea Party reference or something?
Maybe so. I guess so. Chicago Cubs, is everybody in?
Yeah, whatever.
It should be another postseason. The Chicago White Sox is the White Sox.
Yo, they need to fire their marketing director right now. Like, you could have come up with something a little bit better. Like, come on.
The Cincinnati Reds is born to baseball. They haven't done that in a while. The Cleveland Indians is rallied together. Are they still a championship contender?
They don't look it right now. I'll tell you what, that lineup doesn't look all that great either. They really need – like, Jose Ramirez had an amazing beginning to last season.
Yeah.
They really need some of these guys to start hitting because, you saw Kluber get lit up the other day, and you're going to have some of those games where you're going to need your bats to kind of pick up some of these. Their pitching's still very good, but you're going to need these bats to kind of wake up. And right now, I'm a little nervous about them.
The Colorado Rockies is the Rockies. Interesting. Detroit is Motor On. Houston is Take It Back. What is that reference, Take It Back, for the Astros?
I guess the World Series, take it back, like,
a couple of years ago. All right.
I mean, I don't know. It's purely a guess, and that's the only thing I can think of.
The Kansas City Royals are always royal. All right.
Whatever.
The Angels of Anaheim are the Halo Way. I like that, the Halo Way.
Okay, that's not bad, yeah.
The Dodgers are LA Bleeds Blue.
Okay.
And you could, some people in the media would say that's a gang reference. Miami is Juntos Miami. So there you go right there. A little Latin America reference. This is my crew. I like that.
Who's that, the Brewers?
Yeah, the Brewers. This is my
Yeah, I like that.
The Minnesota Twins is MN Twins. All right. Well,
again, fire your marketing director.
Marketing director. The New York Mets. LGM. Let's go Mets. So just not let's go Mets, but the words LGM. That's kind of a Met thing. I would figure that. The New York Yankees is Pinstripe Pride.
Okay.
It should be Pinstripe Pride and injuries. Oakland is Rooted in Oakland, which I believe after the football season ends this year, the A's will be the only team left in Oakland.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's fine. It's, it is what it is. Oakland has always been a big sports town, and they've had a lot of history in that town right there. And, I like the fact that the A's are sticking around. At least gives Oaktown something in there.
Yeah,
There's a lot of teams in that area in California, though. I mean, have you ever been out there? Like, it's a real quick trip to go over to San Francisco. You got Sacramento. Then you got all the teams down south, San Diego and LA. California's not hurting for professional sports teams. Maybe the town of Oakland is, but
yeah.
There's still a good 15
problem is the stadium's a dump. And that's number one. The stadium's a dump. That's the main problem. They don't spend no money. The Raiders skate into Las Vegas. The Warriors are going across the bridge to San Francisco, and the Giants have already been in San Francisco. Listen, it's a short trip across the bridge, but the economics of it is all the money goes into San Francisco now, while the city of Oakland is in poverty. The Philadelphia Phillies is ring the bell, the Liberty Bell.
Right.
76ers do that too, where they ring the bell. The Pittsburgh Pirates are Let's Go Bucks.
Okay.
San Diego Padres are the Friar Faithful. I guess the religious reference to Padres, the father.
Okay, yeah, whatever.
You can do a better job than that. The San Francisco Giants is the SF Giants. Once again, Benny, get rid of
with the Minnesota Twins, fire your marketing director. Yep.
Seattle is true to the blue. That's the Mariners, true to the blue. All right. The Cardinals are time to fly. All right. The worst fan base in the professional sports, the St. Louis Cardinals fan base. The Tampa Bay Rays are raised up.
Wait, hold on. Let's go back for a second. Why is the St. Louis Cardinals fan base the worst?
Also, just go Google and read some of the stories about the St. Louis Cardinals fan base. The Cardinals fan base, they pretend to be this holier-than-thou fan base. They're really some of the worst people on the face of the earth. The Cardinals fan base is notorious. Speaking of fan bases, Adam Jones had another incident last night, and this time in San Diego, where he's from, and they were cursing and carrying on and stuff like that. Fans are really getting out of control, man.
Yo, it's MAGA, baby. Come on, man. You can say whatever you want right now. It don't matter.
I guess that's what it is. Raise up for the Tampa Bay Rays. Texas is the Rangers are together. I don't get that one. Toronto is Let's Go Blue Jays. Once also creative. And the Washington Nationals is One Pursuit. So nothing really like stand outish. But every time I see these on Twitter, I was like, I got to get a full scope of what's going on with those. Got some day baseball going down today, Benny. I know you're not writing any of the baseball stuff, but I don't know. I'm about to pull up the slate right now, right quick, see if I see anything on it that you would find interesting. Day baseball is cool. The thing about day baseball is it's when you are a bettor, you're going to bet on day baseball because it's on and you're in the house in the middle of the day. You got the Royals and the Tigers, Junis and Turnbull.
I think I'd rather be on the Jake Junis side of that game if I was betting either one of them.
I would agree with you on that one. Both of them coming in at minus 108. The Nationals and the Mets, Syndergaard and Strasburg.
That's a good pitching matchup. What's the in that one? That's what I'd be looking at.
The total is 6.5.
I like Syndergaard more. I like the Mets. Who's favored? Is Syndergaard getting money, or is he the favorite?
Mets are the favorite.
Nah. See, I would have taken if Syndergaard was getting money. I would have taken him as a favorite. I don't know if I really want to mess with that
one. The Yankees and the Orioles, James Paxton and Alex Cobb.
Yeah, I mean, I'd much rather be on the Paxton side of that game, and I'm a Yankees fan anyway. So if I was betting, I'd take the Yanks.
Yankees at minus 205, though.
That's a big number. That's too big a number for me to really want to, but
exactly.
That's the side I would want to be on. That's the side I think is going to be the winning side.
The Red Sox and the Athletics. Have the Red Sox been home yet?
I don't know, to be honest. Like you said, I've been writing basketball and then just kind of reading everybody else's baseball articles so far to get onto that because I haven't been digging as deep into it.
That's the last thought right there. You got Edwin Rodriguez and Brett Anderson. 112 for the Red Sox is the favorite. 102 for the A's. Seems like they've been struggling. But the big thing that we got tonight in sports, Benny, you got and this is right up your alley. We have the Milwaukee Bucks in Philadelphia to take on the 76ers. I believe Joel Embiid and Giannis will both be in the lineup tonight. Jimmy Butler should be back. Both teams should be at full strength for what should be a doozy. This late in the season, these two teams right here, Benny. Right now, I'm looking at the Bucks laying 2.5 in Philadelphia. Big test for both teams right here. What do you think about this contest tonight?
Yeah, I actually like the Milwaukee side of it a little more.
Me too.
Basically, when you get a matchup like this, like Philly is they're two of the faster paced teams in the league. I think they're both in the top 6 or top 7 in terms of pace. So this should be a high scoring game. It should be up and down. The thing that always pushes me onto Milwaukee in games like this, though, Milwaukee is better defensively than the 76ers are. I think both of these teams are capable of scoring 120 points tonight, but Milwaukee's the only one that's capable of getting stops when they need to get stops. I don't think that the 76ers defense is really what, is going to win them a lot of games. They're going to win games because offensively they're going to outscore teams. They're going to be more talented on that side of the floor. But when it really comes down to it and you really need a stop, if this is like a 110 game with 2 minutes to go, I think that, Milwaukee has a better chance of scoring and getting a stop on the other end than, the 76ers do, which is why the 2-point spread seems like a really good number too, because I do think it's going to be close throughout, and I think it's going to come down to, 1 or 2 possessions in the last 2 minutes of this game that winds up deciding it.
I'm looking at it right now. I would lay the 2.5 with the Bucks. That's what I'm seeing right now. I don't know which way the money is flowing in yet. It's still very early on the East Coast. It's no total posted for this game yet. I guess a total will post once the teams announce that Embiid and Giannis will be active. My guess is, I think a month ago, this is 235.
Yes.
Tonight, this might be 225 because of a more intense playoff atmosphere. But I would say between 225 and 230. What do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say 228 was going to be my guess. So, yeah, I'm in the same mindset that you are. If you've noticed this, I don't know if anybody else is, doing a lot of over-under betting on NBA, but basically unders have been coming in a lot more over the last month or so, and they're starting to get adjusted down. Like, if you look, when I do the article in the morning, when I do the cash game article, I always do, the teams that have the highest projection over their season average. And a month ago, I used to have 7-8 teams on the list, and I just listed like the top 4 or 5 who are projected for 4 points over, 5 points over, 6 points over. Now it's gotten to the point where, like, even last night on a 12-game slate, I think there were only 4 or 5 teams total of the 24 teams playing who were projected for a number higher than their season average. So you've definitely seen the averages and the total number of points scored drop as the season has gone on, partially because guys are playing like second-tier players, partially because we're seeing a lot more blowouts because some teams have just kind of given up, partially because guys are sitting out on some of these good teams that don't need anything. But we have seen unders coming in and scores being a little lower later in the season. So
the market has adjusted. I was hammering them, Benny, about a month to 6 weeks ago after the All-Star break when I noticed that these games were becoming more tightly contested, especially between 2 playoff teams in the same conference. So last night I was like, I thought I saw one on the board with the Pistons and the Pacers. First of all, the Pistons stink, bro. They scored 80 points last night, right? It opened up at 207. By tip-off, it was at 204.5. And I was like,
pretty big move.
And I was like, man, I like the over in this. The under breezed in. I think it finished at like 195 or something like that. The Pistons just don't score. Well, Blake wasn't playing last night though. They're gonna. I understand they get him rested for the playoffs. Right now they're looking at a 3-6 matchup against the 76ers. 76ers will sweep them.
Yes. I don't disagree with you at all. I mean, I don't disagree with anything you said. It's been Detroit's problem all year is that they don't have enough scoring. I mean, you look at the guys that they have on the wings. They basically got rid of all their wing guys early in the year. The Reggie Bullocks, the Stanley Johnsons. Like, they got rid of all those guys. And now you're seeing, like, 35 minutes from, like, Wayne Ellington. And, Luke Kennard, I think, was hurt. I don't know if he played yesterday, but, like, he's a guy who's playing 25, 30 minutes. They just don't have the kind of wings that good NBA teams have, Reggie Jackson's an okay point guard. Their real strength is
the shot was off last night.
Yeah, honestly, he's really not that good. Like, he's not a big time scorer. He puts up decent numbers because he plays decent minutes and he has the ball in his hand all the time. But I mean, the strength of this team is really the big guys with Andre Drummond and Blake Griffin down low. Their best games are played when they're in those ugly, slow it down, half court kind of games, which is where those two guys kind of excel.
No doubt. So that situation right there. Like I said, they're going to be easy out. They're going to get swept. The Pacers. I thought the Pacers would dip after Oladipo went down with his injury. They're still fighting and hanging in there. They're going to get into. I believe the Pacers and the Celtics play tomorrow night in Boston.
Yeah, they played a couple days ago too. I mean, listen, my biggest problem with the Pacers is the Pacers are going to be a good regular season team because they have a lot of solid players and their rotation is pretty deep. You're bringing, good guys off the bench that can play solid minutes for you. Normally it's Corey Joseph and Tyreek Evans and even, Domantas Sabonis. Those are guys that are coming off the bench for you to help out. So they're pretty deep, and that's the kind of team that'll win in the regular season. They'll beat all the teams they're supposed to. They'll have tough games against the teams that they'll have tough games against. But when you get in the playoffs, it's like we talked about with Philadelphia. Philadelphia for the longest time didn't have that guy who you can give the ball to. That guy on the Pacers is Victor Oladipo. Without Oladipo, the guy who they want the ball in his hands in the big moments is basically like Bojan Bogdanovic.
Bogdanovic.
As good as he's played lately, I'm not looking for Bojan to carry me through a playoff series.
Not through one single playoff series is not going to happen. Watching and listening to, viewing the opening line, part of the Elite Fantasy Sports Network. Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, my main man, Benny Ricciardi. FantasyGuru.com for you season-long heads. If you want to lay it down, it's GuruElite.com. And for you DFS crew, my DFS homies, it is the one and only EliteFantasy.com. Subscriptions going down right now, and the boys are really hot when it comes to baseball. Trust me, I'm waking up with more in my account every morning. All right, Benny, let's get ready before we get up out of here and get to our big piece of chicken. Eastern Conference right now, Milwaukee Bucks to win the conference are at plus 180. The Toronto Raptors to win the conference are at plus 250. This number's coming in from the FanDuel Sportsbook. The Philadelphia 76ers to win the conference, plus 270. And the one, Benny, that I want to start with and I find most interesting, the Boston Celtics to win the Eastern Conference is plus 500. I know a lot of people have been talking about, well, what's up with the Celtics? What's wrong with the Celtics? And I believe it was Kevin Durant was asked, and he said the Celtics would be just fine when the playoffs start. Do you think the Celtics would be just fine when the playoffs start? And is it worth putting $20, $50 on the Celtics plus 500? They do have Kyrie Irving, who has been an NBA champion.
Plus 500 is a pretty nice number. And I think the biggest problem that I have is, that I've been a big Milwaukee Bucks guy since the beginning of the year, right? So I have the Bucks, I think, at plus 600 to win the East from way earlier in the year, way earlier in the year. We're talking 2-3 months ago. I have them already. So I'm sitting on that ticket right there. So for me, I'm going to be looking to kind of hedge by using these other guys since I already have that ticket out there. So putting maybe I don't know, I have 200 on the Bucks. So it'd be a little over $1,000 if that ticket winds up winning. Yeah. So I may put 100 on the Celtics at plus 500. I may put maybe 200 on Toronto or on the Philadelphia 76ers just so I basically cover the cost of the tickets that I put in there to kind of have some.
No doubt.
I'm still looking for Milwaukee to win it, and especially now that they're the favorite because I got them at a much better number than they are now. And I don't want to go nuts and hedge too much against that because that's still my opinion. My opinion is still that the Bucks are the class of the East. So I want if that does work out the way I think it will, I want to be able to take, some kind of profit from it. So I don't want to hedge too much on these other teams where, if the Bucks win, I'm giving away what I thought was the most likely outcome to begin with,
Yeah, and a second round series with the Bucks and the Celtics, it's like I really strongly feel as if the Bucks are going to hammer them, to be honest with you. I think the Bucks can make easy work of them. But it's just something about can they turn it on? You're talking about a Bucks team that don't have really no playoff success. Now you got to go into Boston Garden and win a game 3. You got to go into TD Bank North and win a game 4. When that joint is going to be jumping and you haven't been in these positions before, and Kyrie Irving has, and Jason Tatum has, that's when I think we're going to see what this Buck team is made of.
What it comes down to for me is I think Giannis is the best player in the East.
That's true.
So they got the best player in the East, and we've seen what having the best player in the East can do for a team with LeBron James being over there the last couple of years. Basically LeBron took teams of him and a bunch of scrubs to the playoffs. And I mean, you know what? Some of the guys who played on that Cavs, like I know Channing Frye would be a little bit mad about me saying that, but did you see Channing Frye's quote yesterday?
I saw it, son.
Yo, so Channing Frye, for those who don't know, Channing Frye retired and was like, listen, I'm an NBA champion, I'm rich, and I'm happy. If anybody's got any beef, if you think I suck and I'm walking away, he was like, yo, I'm retiring, meet me at LA Fitness, and we'll see what's up. I thought that was the coolest line. I was like, you know what? He's got a point right there. So shout out to Channing Frye. He's gonna get my big piece of chicken today because that was a badass line that he said.
There you go.
You know, when it really comes down to it, like I said, I mean, LeBron took all those Cavs teams that had really no other talent, you know, big time talent around them. This team with the Bucks, they do have other talent. I mean, Chris Middleton is a legit all-star. He was an all-star this year. He can score. He's a good defensive player. He can rebound. He helps out. Eric Bledsoe's a very good player. Brook Lopez has been a solid NBA starter for a bunch of years. You know, this is a team that has a lot more depth and a lot more talent than people are giving them credit for. Like I said, I know they don't have the experience, but really, who does in the East? You know, I mean, you know, the Sixers are young. You know, the Celtics have kind of been there, but they haven't won anything really.
The Raptors have been there, but they haven't won nothing.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, other than, like you said, other than Kawhi, other than Kyrie Irving, you know, who in the East has really ever been there and done anything special? There's probably more guys with rings on the Cleveland Cavaliers sitting at home watching the way this playoff series turns out than there are on these teams that are going to be competing for.
100% correct. Dudes like J.R. Smith and Tristan Thompson and those cats, they got championship rings. Nobody else in the Eastern Conference has.
Ripping with all of them, with both hands at this point.
LeBron is like, well, I'm going to be coaching AAU this summer, so somebody else time to step up and win the Eastern Conference. Before I give you back to give you your big piece of chicken, I'm going to give my big piece of chicken to I can't even front. Son is getting it done right now. I think he's dope. I'm glad he plays in New York, even though he's on the wrong side of the city. I don't think a pitcher can win the MVP, especially 1 week into the season. Son, but Jacob deGrom, you get the big piece of chicken. Jacob deGrom is getting it done, Benny. He don't stop. He hit home runs and strike out 15.
Yeah, there's nothing you can say. I mean, Jacob deGrom is legitimately one of the best pitchers in the league. He's a Cy Young Award candidate again this year, and he's done nothing.
MVP candidate.
I mean, what does a pitcher have to do to be an MVP candidate? Like, does he have to win?
1 year?
I mean, I know there has been pitchers that have won it before, but I mean, in today's the way baseball is today, you would have to have like a transcendent kind of season, right? Like you're going to have to win the pitching triple crown. You're going to need like a 180 ERA. You're going to need like 25 wins. You're going to have to strike out, 250 batters probably. Like I can't even fathom what the numbers would be that would make a pitcher an MVP candidate with the way things are and the way the voters are today. Like you would legitimately have to break records, I think, in order to even get put in a conversation because it's just gotten to the point where if you're a pitcher, your MVP is the Cy Young. And if you're a player, your MVP is the MVP award. So I really don't know, like, how like I said, you would have to have a transcendent, all-time great kind of season, I think, to win the MVP as a pitcher.
No doubt about it. I believe you on that 100%. That's my guy, though, Jacob deGrom. Benny, you sticking with old boy, or you got somebody else?
Yeah, no, man, Channing Frye, Channing Frye gets the big piece of chicken. I got to find that LA Fitness. I know I'll get my ass kicked, but I want to go take him out. I want to go see how good he is, But that honestly, it's the truth. And we've talked about this before. Like, people don't realize how good even the last guy at the end of an NBA bench is, I always use the Brian Scalabrine story who did the same thing.
Right, Mamba.
Yeah, he had all these guys. He was one of the last guys at the end of the bench in those Nets teams. And when he retired, he had all these people talking shit. I could beat Brian Scalabrine one-on-one. And he basically tweeted out, this is the YMCA I'll be at. You want a shot at the title? Come take it on. And he literally just blew everybody off the court. So people don't realize even a guy who's at the end of an NBA bench will still kick your ass as a basketball player, even if, I played in college, I played in high school. Yeah, that doesn't mean anything when you're going up against one of these guys who was a professional.
No, that's the different league than what the National Basketball Association is. Don't forget FantasyGuru.com for your season-long needs. If you want to lay it down, play some bets. And I tell you, the guys are hot right now. It is GuruElite.com. EliteFantasy.com for all your DFS needs. Don't forget, subscribe right here on the Guru Elite channel. So when me and Benny get done, the videos loads and pops up in the morning, you can hop on it right there. For my main man, Benny Ricciardi, I'm Corey Parson, Fantasy Executive, to open the line. We out.